As you all know, it's World
Oh
Health
no,
Day
it's
today,
not.
and we are here to talk about one of the leading health issues. Yes, you guessed it right. We are talking about sudden cardiac arrest. Joining us is Dr. Balbir Singh, Chairman and Head of Cardiology, Max Hospital, Delhi. Welcome, Doctor.
Welcome. So
So,
on
Doctor,
the
let's please tell us what exactly is a sudden cardiac arrest.
right, so this is a very apt topic, particularly on the World Health Day, because this is the commonest cause of how people die. We don't know. Many people understand what is sudden cardiac death, but they should know that this is the commonest cause by which humans die. So WHO has defined sudden cardiac death as anything which happens within 30 minutes of onset of symptoms. So the patient gets some symptoms and within 30 minutes he's dead. So this is defined as sudden cardiac death. So most of the sudden cardiac deaths are unwitnessed because the doctors are not there. So unless the patient is in the hospital, most of the sudden cardiac deaths happen at home. So one can realize how important is sudden cardiac death, something that happens as a catastrophe at home, and also another issue is that you cannot save people at home by sending ambulances.
So, Doctor, when we talk about sudden cardiac arrest, what are the early signs one should know about this particular condition?
So actually, there are no warning signs of sudden cardiac death. So what we do is we try to predict from our cardiac patients that who stand at a risk and who don't stand at a risk. But if we draw this diagram that who dies the most, it is a pyramid. The pyramid is that the maximum number of people who die of sudden with sudden cardiac death have no issues in the past, have no warnings given to us. So you can imagine the entire population, the maximum number of people who have sudden cardiac death have happens unannounced. They have no cardiac history, they have no symptoms at all, and then just suddenly drop dead. So then comes the pyramid. The apex of the pyramid is formed by people who have a cardiac problem, and we try to predict which one has higher likelihood of sudden death. So this is a question every cardiologist has to keep in mind that my patient has come to me, he has some symptoms. Is he at risk for sudden death or not? Even after those um, algorithms that apply, we still miss a lot of people who still continue to die suddenly. So this is a problem with us. We have not been able to do great research to find out exactly who's at risk.
Right. So in the last few days, or maybe in the last few months, we have noticed a lot of young individuals, fit people, are also dying because of this particular condition. Any particular reason why this is happening?
So the commonest cause of sudden cardiac death is blockages or atherosclerosis, chronic atherosclerosis in the arteries. So, if one controls the risk factors, if somebody has history in the family that some people died suddenly or they had heart attacks, and starts taking care of himself from the early youth, from even from school, I think they can prevent a sudden death. We have had examples of film actors dying in the gyms. So gym is not a protective thing. So one thinks that he's gymming, he's doing weightlifting, and he's protected from heart diseases. That's a myth. So there has to be a reasonable mix of exercise, which is brisk walking or and taking care of your diet and taking care of your risk factors like smoking, like cholesterol. Smoking is one of the biggest risk factors for sudden death. So it has to be given up at all costs. Then there are people who suffer a heart attack and then their heart becomes weak. They are also prone to sudden death. So we have a huge
Right.
gambit of people. But most
So, doctor,
worrying
there
are
is.
those where it comes unannounced, that is, they have no symptoms and suddenly it's a drop dead. And that is the most difficult and worrying part. So every human being has to test himself with his cholesterol, think about smoking or not smoking, control his diabetes, keep weight in check. All these are very important things.
So when we talk about the risk factors or maybe the daily habits that you follow, which increases your risk of suffering a sudden cardiac arrest, can you give us some idea about what are these habits one should stay away from?
So the first thing is physical inactivity. So physical inactivity means that your job is sitting and you keep sitting, and when you go home, Again, sit on the computer, watch the TV, don't move. That is the physical inactivity. The more number of hours that one person spends in physical activity, which could mean just going from one place to another place, walking, not taking the car, climbing stairs instead of taking lift, this can obviate a lot of physical inactivity and can be very useful for people. The other is the food eating habit. So eating a lot of calories, I would not put it a lot of fat. I would put it as a lot of calories because even high carbohydrate diet is bad. So a lot of calories is another thing. So we got a beautiful study recently, which said that normally we think that if somebody sleeps more, he's likely to have more weight. But they studied that people who sleep more actually have lower weight than people who sleep less. So why did it happen? Because when you are not sleep, you keep eating. This is a human behavior. When you are sitting in front of the TV, you keep munching, and that
Yeah.
extra calories that you add on adds to your weight. So keep your weight in check, sleep well, exercise, less physical inactivity, never smoke, never ever smoke, and keep your cholesterol and diabetes in check. This is not a very difficult mantra to follow. It is very, very simple. If you think of your life, if you think of having a fit and a good life, this is very simple to do. Having one heart attack is a disaster. So I tell my patients, look, you're just writing your heart attacks by just smoking. Just give it up. You're already signing a will that I'm going to die, and you don't know about it. And so it is so dangerous.
Right, right. So, doctor, there is a thing called, sudden cardiac arrest is more seen more among men than women. Is it a myth or it's a fact?
So this is a fact, but these curves which were divergent are now convergent because women also have similar risk factors. There is a very interesting thing which God has done to the women that pre-menopausal, the incidence of heart attack is less, much less than men. So the didn't want them to have a heart attack in the childbirth years. He wanted them to save to have their child grow up. And post-menopausal, they have almost similar risk as men. So as a woman gets older, she also gets into similar risks of sudden death as a man. But it is true that men get it more often than women.
Okay. So, what can one do if one sees someone is suffering a cardiac arrest? The topic of discussion
Right.
for the day. Yeah.
Right. So this is a world over. Everybody is working on developing to do. Every human being should learn how to do a CPR, which is cardiopulmonary resuscitation. He should be ready to push on the chest. So that is the first thing one has to learn how to put it, double fist it, thumping on the chest can save many lives. So it is a phenomena which is happening. And in India also, some of my friends are training police officers, policemen, because they can save lives at airports. Then there is a system called AED, automatic external defibrillator. I hope you know that every mall, every airport, every public place has to have one AED. But when you go and check with a mall, if I go to my Saket mall and ask the guard, where is the AED, he will know. So technically and legally, they are supposed to have an AED. So AED is an automatic external defibrillator. If you apply it, it gives a shock and can save many lives. So many lives have been saved with this AED system. So
Right.
AED
Right.
is automatic external defibrillator. Then we have systems. So as I said, everybody should learn CPR. Everybody should know what an AED is. If they go to a public place, try to find out what an AED is and where it is. So that really helps.
Right. So, doctor, there is a lack of understanding between heart attack and cardiac arrest. If you can tell us, our viewers, what is the difference between these two? Many of us, we mix the two terms, but there is a huge difference between these two. If you can tell
Right.
our viewers something about
Yeah,
it.
so it's a good question because most people think acute heart attack and sudden death are same. So I put it as this that not all heart attacks will lead to sudden death. Many heart attacks will reach the hospital. Many of them will reach the hospital. 80% will reach. 20% may die suddenly. 80% of the heart attacks will reach the hospital and can be saved. A sudden cardiac death, not all are due to acute heart attacks. Some of them are, and many are due to arrhythmias, like very fast heartbeat. They were having underlying dysfunction in the heart or had a genetic cardiomyopathy for which they suddenly collapsed. So they are not all heart attacks. Sudden cardiac arrest doesn't mean that everybody is heart attack. There'll be some who would have heart attack. So heart attack means when the artery gets blocked 100%, completely blocked, and there is no circulation in that part of the heart. So it leads to chest pain, breathing difficulty, and some patients may collapse with a sudden death at home. Many others will be able to reach the hospital. So my request to everybody is don't ignore any chest pain or any heaviness in the chest, which is generally around the center, and feel makes you burp, and some jaw heaviness. This could be a heart attack.
Right. So before we go ahead, about talking about all the care or measures you can take, I think Shivani has a very important topic to talk about and to know, and you can answer us about this recent situation of COVID, which we are in right now. It has a major effect on the heart. So Shivani, you can
Sir,
take over.
you have rightly quoted that because that heart health becomes really bad अगर आप घर पर बैठे हैं binge watch कर रहे हैं खाना खा रहे हैं एक्सरसाइज नहीं कर रहे हैं और पास्ट के जो 2 साल निकले उसके अंदर कोविड सिचुएशन में आई थिंक 90% ऑफ द पीपल हैज डन दैट उन्होंने वही किया सो कोविड ने इस सिचुएशन को कैसे और वर्स बनाया है अगर आप बता पाए
तो कोविड में प्रॉब्लम्स आई कि एक तो इन्फेक्शन हुआ, चेस्ट इन्फेक्शन हुए, निमोनियाज हुए। दूसरी प्रॉब्लम्स के साथ साथ हुई थ्रोम्बोसिस की, क्लॉट बनने की। वो क्लॉट बने लेग्स में, लेग से ट्रैवल करके लंग्स में, तो उसको हम पल्मोनरी एम्बोलिज्म कहा। तो उसमें कई डेथ्स हुई। फिर कईयों को हार्ट अटैक्स हुए। हार्ट अटैक क्यों हुए? क्योंकि क्लॉट बन गए आर्टरीज में, वो ब्लॉक हो गई आर्टरी। तो वो भी हमने बहुत देखा। तो कोविड ने बहुत प्रॉब्लम्स की हार्ट, लंग्स दोनों में। हार्ट इतना नहीं जितना लंग्स, बट हार्ट में भी हार्ट अटैक हुए। कईयों की डेथ हार्ट की वजह से हुई, कईयों की हार्ट पंपिंग कम हुई। बट फॉर्चुनेटली कोविड जिन्होंने रिकवर कर लिया उसके बाद हार्ट जनरली सेफ रहा, उसको इतनी प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं हुई। तो हमने नहीं देखा कि कोविड ठीक हो गया और उसके बाद हार्ट में कुछ इश्यूज आ गए, ऐसा नहीं हुआ।
तो सर कोविड जो है आप वो एक रीजन नहीं बन सकता है कार्डियक अरेस्ट का इज दैट सो और ऐसा हो सकता है
अगर ऐसा हो सकता है इनिशियल फेज में जब कोविड चल रहा है, जब कोविड से आदमी पूरा रिकवर हो गया, उसका हमने ब्लड थिनिंग एजेंट्स भी दे दिए, सब कुछ उसका इंटैक्ट रखा। उसके बाद सिक्वली, कार्डियक सिक्वली या हार्ट अटैक्स पोस्ट कोविड खत्म होने के बाद 1-2 महीने हम कहते हैं कि एक पीरियड है जहां हो सकता है, उसके बाद सिक्वली नहीं।
तो सर ऐसे कई लोग भी थे जिनका कोविड डिटेक्ट ही नहीं हो पाया कईयों के माइल्ड सिम्टम्स रहे कोविड डिटेक्ट नहीं हो पाया तो क्या उन लोगों में ये कार्डियक अरेस्ट का फिर चांसेस हायर है एज कंपेयर टू द पीपल जो हॉस्पिटल में एडमिट हुए
जिनको कोविड नहीं डिटेक्ट हो पाया, उनका इतना माइल्डर द सिम्टम्स, लेस चांसेस ऑफ कॉम्प्लिकेशन। जितना माइल्ड होगा उतना कम चांस है, वो जितना सीवियर होगा उतना चांस थ्रोम्बोसिस और हार्ट अटैक का ज्यादा। बट ये
Right.
जीरो नहीं होगा, जिसको
Zero
माइल्ड हुआ है
नहीं।
उसको भी
There will be some kind of effect. So,
Yeah.
when we
yes।
talk about this, let's pick up some questions from our viewers. They want to know what care should one take, to keep their heart health and in space.
So the question is that
To be
some of
very
the things
exact,
I've
it is
already.
asked. The person wants to know what foods should I include in my diet to keep my heart healthy.
So there are three foods which Mediterranean diet, which is supposed to be the best diet for heart, includes fruits, vegetables, and nuts. So three things. So you can realize that all these three things are less fattening, have less carbohydrate, and less calorie. So the mantra is less caloric food, eat less, eat less. Somebody is overweight, make it half of what you eat. There are more deaths by overeating than by starving. So one has to remember that also. So eat less, have less calories. Even carbohydrates are not a great diet. So you should have everything. It's not that I'm asking you to stop fats completely. This is a myth that you stop fats completely. It is not correct. Have a mix of carbs, fats, and proteins in a proper fashion. Don't stop fats and eat carbohydrates. They're equally bad. So having just saying I only eat rice is no excuse, because rice is simple carbohydrate, so it increases a lot of calories in your body. So there has to be a mix. So a balanced diet is the key. Have higher fruits and vegetables, higher nuts.
ओके सर। सर जैसे कि हम पहले आपने पहले भी जैसे बताया कि एज फैक्टर जो है वो मेनोपॉजल वुमन में भी हो जाता है, प्रेग्नेंट टाइम पे नहीं होता, मेन में थोड़ा ज़्यादा है। इफ़ यू रिमेंबर अभी लास्ट एक ईयर में काफ़ी डेथ भी हुई सडन कार्डियक अरेस्ट। सिद्धार्थ शुक्ला थे हु यूज्ड टू बी रियली फिट बट ही डाइड एंड ही वाज इन हिज मिड 30s। सो ये
Yes.
अर्ली एज में भी अब देखा जा रहा है कि काफ़ी ज़्यादा जो यंगस्टर हैं इवन दो दे गो टू जिम दे आर रियली एक्टिव इन देयर डेली लाइफ, फूड
Yeah.
हैबिट्स अच्छी है बट स्टिल हो रहा है। तो इज इट बिकॉज देयर इज अ जेनेटिक फैक्टर अटैच टू इट या फिर कोई और कॉमन इलनेसेस हैं जिनकी वजह से सडन कार्डियक अरेस्ट होता है?
सो जेनेटिक फैक्टर बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, बहुत हाई लिंक है इसके लिए जेनेटिक फैक्टर का। दूसरी चीज, हम लोग सोचते हैं कि जिम जाना एक फिटनेस का साइन है, वो शायद ठीक नहीं है, क्योंकि जिम जाने में वेट ट्रेनिंग जो करते हैं वो प्रोटेक्ट नहीं होती, वेट ट्रेनिंग से और भी प्रॉब्लम्स आ सकते हैं। एथलेटिज्म, हम सोचते हैं कि मैराथन रनर्स प्रोटेक्टेड होते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है। Probably nature didn't want us to do all this. Walking is the best exercise. Cardios on gym are the best exercise. Heavy weights are not good exercise. मसल्स तो अच्छे दिखते हैं लेकिन हार्ट वीक हो जाता है इससे। तो जिमिंग हम नहीं कह सकते कि प्रोटेक्ट करता है। सो सिद्धार्थ शुक्ला के केस में मैं एग्जैक्टली नहीं जानता कि वो स्मोकर थे कि नहीं थे, उनका कोलेस्ट्रॉल कितना था मैं नहीं जानता, उनकी जेनेटिक
ऑफ
हिस्ट्री
कोर्स।
क्या थी मैं नहीं जानता। तो हम लोगों को बहुत चीजें चाहिए होती है, बहुत फैक्टर्स चाहिए होते हैं कहने के लिए कि कौन रिस्क पे है कौन नहीं। सो ऑब्वियसली यंगस्टर्स आर इक्वल रिस्क। अगर उसको स्मोक करते हैं और जिमिंग करते हैं तो कोई फायदा नहीं है जिमिंग का।
It
So
depends on the
fitness,
lifestyle, maybe the
lifestyle,
habits.
food
Habits.
habits, sleeping patterns.
Absolutely. So, doctor, when we talk about this, one of the questions says, what are the other common illnesses that can increase my chances of suffering a sudden cardiac arrest? Uh, it actually asks about sudden heart attacks, but if we can talk about both the things.
So the sudden cardiac death happens more often in people who have had past heart attacks, whose heart pumping is weak, or have some genetic syndromes on ECG which are detected. So they are very prone to sudden cardiac arrest. And fortunately, these people can be picked up in our clinics. We can pick them up that this guy has got a high risk, because we can put some pacemakers or devices which are called defibrillators and save them from sudden death. So this is important to understand, that we can recognize people with these illnesses who are prone to sudden cardiac death.
Right. Let's pick up one last question, maybe. You know, after this post-pandemic thing, everything is like, people, their heart issues have increased. Any particular kind of suggestions you have for the viewers or for the ones who are at risk of developing this particular condition? Doctor, you are on mute.
The first thing to remember is that those who have a history of heart attack or heart disease, maybe it a bypass surgery or angioplasty, have to be very, very careful. I'll give you an example. That if the father had at the age of 65, his son can have it at the age of 55. So it jumps by a decade. So he has to start taking precautions much earlier in life. The family has to start taking precautions, because the diet, the exercise protocols, frequent blood tests to detect cholesterol or sugar, others are very important. So you have to figure out every such thing so that they can be saved from this kind of dangerous thing.
सो डॉक्टर जस्ट द लास्ट क्वेश्चन है कि हमसे एक व्यूअर पूछ रहे हैं कि प्रेगनेंसी के टाइम पे कुछ स्पेशल इंस्ट्रक्शन जिनका उन्हें ध्यान रखना चाहिए टू सेव देमसेल्फ फ्रॉम दिस डिसीज।
तो प्रेगनेंसी में चांसेस हार्ट अटैक के कम होते हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं होते। लेकिन प्रेगनेंसी में हर गायनोकोलॉजिस्ट ब्लड प्रेशर चेक कराती है, ब्लड टेस्ट कराती है। वो इसलिए होता है कि देखने के लिए कि हार्ट के ऊपर असर ना आए। बीपी अगर जिस बढ़ जाता है प्रेगनेंसी में, वो एक अच्छा साइन नहीं है, बिकॉज बीपी नॉर्मल प्रेगनेंसी में थोड़ा नीचे गिरता है। अगर बीपी
जी।
उल्टा बढ़ जाता है तो वो हार्ट के ऊपर डायरेक्ट असर कर सकता है। तो उसका
ओके,
ध्यान रखना चाहिए.
ठीक है, थैंक यू।
Right. So maybe, Doctor, we will end this particular live, but anything that we have missed and you want to add on?
So I would just add on that heart disease and sudden death is preventable. It is in our interest that we must take care of ourselves. Uh, the World Health Organization is always talking about health for all, and this is something which is in our hands. We must think, exercise, and if somebody has a heart attack, he should be very careful because there is a lot of technology change that has happened and can help many lives and add value to the life.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I think this answers all the questions that our viewers have. Shivani, you want to add on something?
आई जस्ट वांट टू से कि ये सेशन काफ़ी इन्फॉर्मेटिव रहा सर, और हमारे पास जितने क्वेश्चंस आए हैं उससे पता लगा कि काफ़ी क्वेरी सॉल्व हुई है, सो थैंक यू सो मच फॉर योर टाइम सर।
Yes, and I think one
Excellent.
of the most
Thank you very
important
much.
thing was people are so confused about these two terms, heart attack and
Yes.
cardiac arrest. I think
या
this session will give them the idea why they are, not the same and they are
Yes.
different.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Hope to
Thank you
connect
very
with you
much. Thank you both of
soon
you.
with another big topic.
थैंक यू।
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.